Hello.
Hi, hi.
Good afternoon. So good to see you both. Hi, Keiko. Hi,
Hello,
Heather. How
hello.
are you? So good to be here, and good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon here from the US because
Good
for Keiko
morning.
and Heather, it's good morning early.
Good
Keiko's in
morning.
Japan and Heather in Australia. So I guess Keiko 7 a.m., Heather 8 a.m. And here
Always
is 6 p.m., right?
nice to see you both again.
I know, and this is amazing to be in this group. Actually, the original group, we were five, and five women from different five continents. But Madge and NG from Madge from Scotland, NG from Nigeria couldn't make it. Everybody has, their own things in life. So we're here holding them as well in this space. And Keiko and Heather have been, let's say, our guest since the first Grandma's March in 2021. Yeah, both of you were there. Yeah, separate. That's the first time I met each of you in your journeys. And Keiko just had lunch at the grandmother's book, and Heather, yeah, with her shamanic practice. I remember you share about your grandkids and
Mm.
all your journeys. So it's been amazing. Yeah, already 3 years with both of you here. So before we start, let me do a very brief introduction of both of you. And then the idea is that we talk today a little bit about the theme of the year, which is awakening our divine potential through stories, rituals, and love. So every year, as you know, we have like a theme that comes in different ways, intuitively, or people start talking about what should be the year this year. And lots of amazing women are also joining this year. So I love to have you back, and welcome.
Thank
So,
you.
and thank you for being here. So let's start with Keiko. Keiko's from Japan. So as I said, I met her virtually 3 years ago in 2021. 3 years, yeah, 3 years ago. And Keiko, I will read a little bit because I love how she says this. It's like she used to dream as a child to create a world without hunger so that no child goes to bed hungry. So she served in the United Nations for more than 27 years, or almost 27 years, in the World Food Program. And she lived in different countries: Afghanistan, Mexico, Indonesia. I know she has been all over and much more. And she's the she's the author of the book What Grandma Taught Me, a worldwide
Yeah, I
tribute
have
to
it. Yeah.
grandmothers and their legacies. And that's why we are connected here, because that book and that grandmother stories connected us since the beginning. And yeah, she's the co-author together with Paula Henstrich, and they are international best-selling authors, which is amazing. So that is a way that she's also bringing healing to the world. And now with her retreat center, healing retreat center in Bali, that I was also there, which is
Thank
amazing.
you.
Yeah, so welcome, Keiko. It's such a pleasure that we're always
Thank you.
meeting back and back. And yeah, we have met personally. So
Hmm.
that is amazing. And Heather Price from Shamanic um Wisdom. So Heather is from Australia, and Heather is a shamanic path and practice practitioner. She's a mentor and trainer, corporate well-being and visioning consultant, clinical counselor, ceremonial holder. She's also presenter, speaker, community service provider, and a published author as well. And she offers guidance for people, and this is the way she also has it in her website. And we will present some of your website so everybody keeps following you, because in the last time we have done it as well. But you offer guidance for people from all walks of life, and is passionate about supporting a number of women's circles and community in general wherever she lives. She's a well-being and visioning consultant for clients in businesses and corporate arenas, and is an experienced workshop facilitator and presenter. Her greatest passions are writing and holding sacred circles and ceremony for communities, especially in nature. So thank you, Heather. And I do remember our first conversation, that beautiful sharing of especially your grandkids. And you even showed me pictures and all the beautiful stories of how you are such a special grandma, and how that role is so special to you. And especially your beautiful story in how in your life and your journey you became a shaman, how you came to that, and your connection to nature is so beautiful. So thank you for all the work that you do in the world. Yes.
Thank you very much. Can I just pull you up? I don't call myself a shaman, but I teach shamanic wisdom. It's
I know that. Yes. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yes, because for me, I always have, but when I speak about you, I say, yeah, she's a shaman, because I feel you that way. But thank you for that. Yes.
Well, just in honoring the traditional shaman.
You're right. Thank
Can
you.
I say one other thing? Keiko, you did it. You did it. The retreat.
Yes.
I
Yes, she
can't.
did it.
Yes.
She did it. She did it, and it's amazing. And you have to go there.
Yeah, please. And
COVID and everything. My goodness, you are amazing to do that.
I know.
no, I actually, thanks to COVID, we
Yes.
managed to put this marble beautiful stone half of the price. I mean, yeah, all worked out because I took the courage, and then I'm gonna do it no matter what. So actually it worked, and then now Bali is like booming, and our place is full. Yeah, this thanks Monica, that actually Rosita and then Peppa
Yes.
visited our retreat, and then there's thanks to them I made one room. I just broke this wall, and then I make a bigger room for two to be there. And I made a nameplate also. It was emotional, and then thank you Monica for this, and then Tuli for this inspiration. So that is a most wanted room, this suite, because it has a little kitchen. Everybody loves that the room, and then they are fighting, and then they want to stay there for what, 1 year?
1 year.
Wow. That is amazing. I love it.
A
that
lot.
room.
Yeah, that room is the most wanted room. And then it's Ukrainian and then Russian there, and then they want to stay there a long time.
So everybody has to go there. Really, there is a room called Rosita and Peppa honoring the grandmothers that inspired this project, and all it started here. It's 2021. It's true.
I just can't believe both of you, because you ran into each other as well, didn't you? Out of the blue.
Yes, recently, and we also ran into each other in India. That was not like the idea.
And out of blue, actually, the universe connected us. And then now my retreat center, the energy is really amazing. That's many people comment on. It's not not the thing, but it's energy. And then there is this sacred water near there. That's something that in Heather I'm trying to learn these days, just to connect with the nature, animals, not like eyes can see, but there's a whole lot world. I'm sure you know more. That's something the domain that I'm entering now. Plus the grandma, I envy you, Heather, because I cannot wait to be a grandmother. But my son still says that, oh, I don't have a girlfriend yet. Whether he's telling me the truth or not. But I guess so, because he's celebrating his birthday with mommy. So it's gonna take a little time, but I'm just waiting for the moment.
Yeah, you will get there.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing. I can't describe it. It's different to being a mum. It's slightly different. I love different. just the connection that you can have without having the stress of
Right.
Mm,
around and discipline them all the time.
exactly.
It's not very fair on the mother because the children can see that bond between you that is different because
Mm,
I refuse to. I get into trouble for being too soft from my sons and their wives. But I've been there, done all that, and it's like my heart's changed. As you get older,
mm,
sweat the small stuff anymore, and it's just
mm,
easier. I don't get as upset by spilt milk. It's
mm.
I guess I've just had more experience in life and realised, well, if I take a breath and have a pause for a minute, I'm not always calm. Like I can still lose the plot as a grandmother, but I end up just sitting down and taking a big deep breath and saying, "Oh, please, can you just be kind to Nanny?" And then the next thing they come over and pat, we forget that you're old, Nanny, and they pat me and say, "Oh, you're old, we forgot." Because I can't run after them, 100 miles an hour around the house. Sort of, it's quite funny. Mm.
That is so
Yeah.
cute. Remind us how many grandkids you have. It's two
I
or
have
three.
Two
Oh,
boys on one side and two girls on
Two
the other.
girls on the four. Okay.
wow.
Wow.
Lucky you. Give
Wow.
me one.
What's come, I think, but anyway, one of my sons get to manage that. But just highly recommended. I'm sure you'll both get there.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
wonderful. So
Oh,
many new
Heather. And how is life for you right now? Tell us a little bit because it's been a while. With Keiko, we have catch up, and now she's telling
Amen.
about her retreat center and everything. What about you?
Oh, look, I guess I didn't write a new bio, but things have changed for me. Even that didn't matter anymore. I think it was pretty tough down here for a couple of years.
Mm.
Yes, with the pandemic and everything.
Yeah,
Mm. The flood. Yeah.
well, no,
Yeah.
with COVID, it was difficult because they shut our borders, so we couldn't travel to see our families, and we had to make major decisions. I had to make the decision to leave Sydney and move interstate in just a few hours, really. We didn't get very much warning. And I packed up my car and I just took off from my studio. It was a beautiful studio overlooking the water in Sydney. And then I just packed everything I could fit in my car and drove. And I got across the border an hour before they closed the border. And then I had to sleep in my car overnight in the garage. And I didn't have any accommodation first. And then my children's dad helped me out. He vacated his unit, which was near the beach. So I had 3 months by the beach unexpectedly. And then I moved to the mountains in Malani, but it took me a long while to find my home. And there were so many people homeless. So I started this, I brought that attention to that in my new place where I moved to because I knew quite a lot of people here. And we ran on International Women's Day 2 years ago. We brought attention to the homeless women who were we've got a huge number of women over 55 in Australia who are homeless. And a colleague and a friend of mine, one of the leadership group founders that I founded as well, she and I brought attention to these homeless women, and I joined with a lot of other leaders here in Queensland where I live to let people know, take care of these women with children, especially the older women, to find homes. And I had so many friends who were in that position. It was a really difficult time. So I really sort of let go a lot of my work, and I've done a lot of community work and strengthened the leadership community that I co-founded in Sydney to help us all adjust to the changes. So we've had really big changes and in our the way we view the world, really. And I've been part of that and helping people get through the difficult changes and to relocate and to change everything they needed to change to adapt to life. So it's been quite a journey here. I'm sure it's like this in many places.
Yes.
Not just here. I know it is.
No, but it's hard. It's been for the stories you were always sharing. I can see it was very challenging in there because yes, other places have suffered, but I never seen like all like as much as you were telling, for sure. That was very challenging. That was very challenging for you and your country and your community, at least that as it seemed. Yeah.
Yeah. It brought out the best and the worst in us. You know, there's still a lot of people that took advantage of us. People were having to still have to rent a room for twice as much as they used to. The rents are double.
Yeah,
You know,
I read about it. Yeah.
yes, people were actually renting out rooms without proper bathrooms. $600 a week
Wow.
room, you know, like it was just outrageous what was happening, and still is happening, I have to tell you. But there's also a beautiful movement of a lot of people opening up their homes and opening up granny flats and studios and welcoming people in and gifting people homes to live in. And I hear those stories a lot, so I'm lucky to hear them. You know, there's such a goodness in humanity.
Oh, that is the best part from this pandemic. That the stories and all the goodness that you see, like kindness and people helping each other. So definitely. Yeah.
No, it's beautiful.
Yeah. That's so good. So good to hear, and that you're here, né? Because it's been a while. It's been a while that we don't.
Yeah.
So we don't connect.
My mother actually passed in October.
Oh, no.
Very
Sorry.
big change. One less grandmother.
Yes.
So she was a great grandmother to I think about 10 children. Yeah, so you know, big loss. And but we've had babies born since then.
Really? Look at all this. Wow. Life really is
Wow.
happening. Yes.
There's the balance. And
Yes.
my niece had a little girl about 2 weeks after Mum passed. Yeah, and that happened with my father, exactly the same thing. So I was trying to explain that to my granddaughters. They said, "Why do we have to die, Nanny?" And I said, "Well, there's not enough room in the world." That seemed to be a way to explain to them. I said,
I love it.
"We need to make room for all the
For
babies."
the new babies coming. That's so beautiful. Yeah. What did she say with that? Yeah.
They settled down. They'd been absolutely mortified by their great grandmother's passing. We cried for 10 minutes, screamed, in fact, the three of us, my two granddaughters and myself. And their parents just stood back and watched them clinging on to me, both of them on my lap, screaming and screaming. We were all screaming, three of us, in pain from the loss. And then we'd stop every now and then and kiss each other and hug, and then we'd have another cry. And then we eventually start laughing because, you know, that's what we do a lot of. And then we sat down for an hour and we painted because my mum was an artist, and we painted these beautiful. And the little girls had just seen her a few days before, and they'd been painting with her. Or it was actually not a few weeks. So they, you know, they were really close to her at the end, especially. And I think that on the topic, grandmothers can help with that because we can explain. You know, they expect we help them understand the transition because we have aged, and then of course they're worried about me dying. And I said, "Oh, I think you've got a while to wait yet." And you know, we had all those discussions that you have these raw, authentic discussions that you wouldn't normally have. And I'm sure you both understand that. And I've been talking a lot, so I'll step back. Keiko, go for it.
No, that's beautiful. It's
It is so
grandmother's
beautiful.
wisdom, and then yeah, it's the loss or death of anybody is so hard.
Yeah.
What you did with your grandchild is something that she will remember forever. You know, just cry out, get it out, then laughter, and then honoring your mother painter's life. That's so beautiful. That's a ritual that you know, Monica is featuring here, and that's something that yeah, your grandchild will remember forever. Like I wish when I lost my mother in 2018, I wish somebody did that, you know, because I mourned myself, and then, you know, really it's get it out and then do something. So yeah, that's so beautiful. That's grandmother's wisdom.
It is.
Definitely. Definitely.
Such a beautiful way of honoring someone and grieving. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
very healthy. And the parents just stood there, my son and his wife, did not attempt to soothe the girls or stop them. I thought, God. And they said that was their first experience of death, and they didn't want it. They wanted them to truly understand it, you know, and how different it would have been. But I think our grandmother, I had two grandmothers, and they helped me understand life in their own ways with ritual, lots of ritual. But you're right, Keiko, it was a ritual. It was a ceremony. We did it, created the art together, remembering what she loved to paint. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure you do that in Bali. You know, it sounds like, I know I have lots of friends who go to Bali. I'll be referring lots of people over there with their groups, but to you, Keiko, let me know.
And
honouring all the trees before you, introducing yourself to the land, to the country before you place things. I'm sure you've done some rituals and candles and having those sacred moments, connections with the spirit of the land, and all those sorts of things are beautiful to create a rich place, you know.
Yeah, and then it's so beautiful that they have this philosophy that it is the connection with the God and universe and then people, and it's just so beautiful. And then funeral for them is a celebration for Hindu. So that's what I love the most. Like if I tell my business partner Deva, that Monica and Turi met, he says that I told him that if I happen to die while I'm in Bali, you can just celebrate my life and then maybe give a little ash to my husband if he wants, you know, and do whatever he wants. But this is definitely, you know, now I want to talk about this story because it's how you tell your story, how you frame your story, and it's so powerful. So I would rather like my death not to be cried, but then to be celebrated. And then my job now is to make sure that my life is worth for celebration, you know. But anyway, that's I just love. And then story, like now I'm working as a hypnotherapy also, that it's really people who suffer because they are stuck in the story, right? So we do to rewrite the story, which you exactly did, Heather. Like it's not to cry, but then once you get it out, the laughter comes, the appreciation came, and then your grandchild felt that. So that will stay with her, and that's so beautiful. And when my mother died, I am her daughter, so I was just crying because mother's parents are full of responsibility. I couldn't even take care of my my child. He's mourning. So then I really appreciate that wisdom. And then when you reach to this grandmother, perhaps, as you say, Heather, like being, just to be there, not like telling this or that, but that presence is so much, wisdom, and then so much, variable. But anyway, story is so important. Now I come to understand. Like the book is about my grandmother's story, and that was a lullaby. I was listening to it, and it was so excitement after the World War II. She had to sell her kimono to get some money for food. How courageous she walked, I don't know, so many miles or kilometers. I mean, she said actually whole day she was walking to sell her kimono to the black market. It's so exciting. And then the story, that is why that many people love the story. And then it is just, years and then years, and then it is told to many people. because it's got an emotion. And I was just thinking, preparing for this session today, even it's better than a movie because it's your imagination. I could almost see it like a little Keiko listening this lullaby, going to sleep, and this courageous grandma going, walking for life, right? So it's even better than a movie. Movie is sort of this picture and imagination is imposed upon you. But when you feel it, when you imagination, like Albert Einstein says, imagination is the most powerful tool, right? So when the child imagine and then feel it in the whole cellular level, so that is why story is so powerful. So I one day I wanna become a grandmother and then telling a story to
Storyteller.
my grandchildren, and I have to make sure it has to be very juicy and very interesting. That's why here I am, and then adventure, India with Monica and then all this. So yeah,
So
that's
many
the
stories
way I
that
am.
you have to tell your grandkids.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should start writing a book around that. So yes, yes, that would be
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
Uh,
but
I it was interesting hearing that about your grandmother. My goodness, going all those miles to sell her kimono. How do you say?
mm,
Yeah, sorry.
kimono, yeah,
Kimono.
like a Japanese traditional.
Yeah,
Yeah,
amazing story handed down. Just immediately you get a visual, don't you? You feel
mm.
when you hear a story, you feel.
But the
Yes.
determination, and
Mm.
then that was my first book about story about my grandmother, and then this is about the woman, very humble woman who survived the two world wars.
Mm.
And then yeah, based on the what I was hearing as I was going to sleep, because my parents were hard working, and then I was basically raised by my grandmother, so I wanted to leave it in the somehow like as a history. So I wrote a book, and then for her it was really amazing, for such a humble person somebody write her biography. She was so thrilled. But yeah, but it's a determination and then a for life, and then that resilience I have seen so many, which actually I shared in this India speech, that the leadership, I'm working on this new book about grandma leaders, those voiceless hidden leaders, but their resilience, and then thanks to that we are here, and then humanity thrived, right?
Yes.
So that's something that I really wants to honor. And then now I'm making an audiobook out of my book, because I think it's going to be very good if you listen to, as I was listening the lullaby of my grandmother, these stories should be told, you know
Yes.
not always read. But yeah, so
Great.
I'm working on this audiobook, so I will let you know when it is.
I
This is
love it. She
Oh,
never stops,
2023.
Keiko.
Yeah.
She doesn't. She never stops. She's always something.
Li-
She's
oh,
like
always
you, like
doing
you,
something.
like you, Monica, and then I wanted to congratulate you. Like your grandmothers are congratulating you to keep this going
Yes.
amid
Yes.
all this busy thing you have. But yeah, today's the last day of March, but voila, we are here.
Tomorrow. Tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
have
I mean,
one more day to go.
for
Yes,
me,
for
yeah.
you. Yes, I
In
know.
Japan, it's the last day, but
Yeah,
yeah.
you're right.
yeah,
Because for you it's on the 31st. For me, it's on
yeah,
the 30th. So tomorrow's the last day. But
yeah.
you're right. It's
You
crazy.
can still go on, but
No,
yeah, this
and
has to
it's
be.
like a personal commitment to this, because I
Yeah,
believe in this. I
yeah,
believe in the power of the stories, and
yeah.
that connection to the grandmother that it keeps me on going. Because sometimes it's like, no, this year I don't have the energy. I just came back from India. I was so busy, And no, there is no way I cannot do it, you know.
Yeah, well done, well done, well done.
I just love the fact that you did it. I watched one of your shows the other day, your podcast, with the children who came in to listen to the.
My nephews, that was like the best. So I had this woman that was with us there, Miriam Nakini. A lot of her work she does is with children books, not only for children but also for adults, you
Yeah.
know. So she does a lot of development work with children's books. And then the session was going to be with her because of the stories and books about grandmothers and things like that. And she had the idea of like, oh, wouldn't it be amazing to bring some kids into this session? And I thought, oh my God, I have two perfect kids. Those are my nephews. And they love books and they love stories. So I asked my sister, and she asked them, and they say, yes, we want to participate.
And that was so cute.
It was so cute. And then we invited my mother to honor her as a grandmother. The session was in English. She couldn't understood well, but she was there, you know, like, okay, you hold the space as the grandmother, and the kids did a little bit of an honoring for her, and that was beautiful.
They picked the story they wanted to hear, and they were so excited. And then she read the lovely book to them.
Yes.
I couldn't stay on for the whole thing, but I thought, oh, it was like being in your living room with you. It was beautiful.
I know. It's so beautiful how she tells those stories. Yeah.
So
Congratulations,
Monica.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's marvelous. I've just been helping pack up some of my mother's things, and she had left about a legacy of about 40 diaries. Probably
Wow.
50 or 60 really, because there were small ones. And she'd always told stories like your mother, Keiko. But we never captured, I mean, my other sisters may have captured some of the stories. Sadly, I didn't, because I was so engrossed. I couldn't say, do you mind if I put this on tape, you know? Because she's so sincere. She's such a fabulous storyteller. And I didn't like to spend the energy by getting out my pen and paper or my recorder. And so I'm not very good at remembering things, unfortunately. So they went in one ear and out the other. But she told a few of them over and over. And I looked at a couple of her diaries, and she wrote in her diaries the way she spoke. It was so beautiful to read.
Wow.
Didn't pour her like emotional energy into the diaries. It wasn't about that for her. It was just about telling everyday stories with this beautiful way of talking about the horses and how they gathered them in the paddock, and the colours and the names of the horses. And I loved the horses growing up. I thought, oh my God, all my memories are in these diaries.
Wow.
What a blessing having those diaries. Oh my God.
But unfortunately, not everyone feels the same way. Some people feel it's very personal. They think they ought to be ritualized and cremated along with her. I get that, especially in her last 10 years when she actually started. She's probably, I haven't read any of her recent ones except her last one, but it changed from telling the stories to probably more of a therapy, you know, when you express through journey, which is what I teach people. So those sorts of ones you wouldn't read, but the early ones were extraordinary and such wonderful memories. Unfortunately, I didn't have very much time to capture any of them, you know, to read them. But I think in the old days, like I found some telegrams, if you remember what they are, telegrams.
Yes.
At weddings, and she kept all the newspaper cuttings from, 40 years ago, and treasured things like slips from bank accounts that she kept everything. Everything. I'm not kidding. Every plane trip she'd ever made or train trip, she had the ticket.
Wow, that is amazing.
I kept a lot of them and put them into different folders for each of her daughters so that they could have some memories, because they didn't have a chance to sit like I did and just read through that. I was worried about that. So I thought at least if they had their own memories, they could relate to the experience that I had, you know. That for me it was really important, because she said, please make sure you read everything before you destroy it. It's really hard to make that decision, because she carried on her mother-in-law's stuff. Like she carried it all. She carried some of her father-in-law's stuff. And I know my aunties kept all their mum's mother stuff. She didn't sort of keep much of that because she wasn't given that chance. But oh my Lord, I've actually done the opposite. I've started thinking I can't put my kids through this. I've started shredding my own memories because as much as it's very moving, I can't imagine, and they might my three sons sitting down one day and reading my memoirs. I mean, one of them is a writer and storyteller. Maybe he'd be interested. But
yeah, you
it's
never know.
But I think the oral stories, as Keiko said, it's my grandchildren will remember the conversation, the storytelling, and I've always been a storyteller. I used to make up stories as a child for my youngest sister and make them up every time I'd be at boarding school and I'd come back and she'd say, "Can you make a story up about blah, blah, blah?" And my grandchildren do the same thing, you know. I've written a personal story each on a special occasion. I've illustrated the stories for them. And so they've got that memory of one story from their grandmother that's been handwritten and illustrated. But I do think storytelling is a ritual. It is a ceremony.
I love it.
And the oral storytelling of the grandmother to the grandchild is a ritual. And it's also part of the natural law because, you know, it happens in nature. The trees actually communicate with each other. Science proves this now. And the trees pass on their wisdom. And do you know there are some trees that have been so old that they've been cut down at the very old, but they're connected to the trees around them, and the trees around them share their nutrients with that tree that's been cut off and keep it alive. So there are some stumps that are still alive because the family has kept them alive. They're all connected within their trees, and they share their wisdom, you know, how to survive fire and how to survive. So it's something we'll never understand, of course, but they pass on the genetic coding that's part of the storytelling, and for their own offspring, you know, around them in the trees. Trees are incredible. In fact, in the Jewish tradition, the tree of life, you know, we come back to the tree of life, was considered that the trees connected us from earth to heaven, and so they were sacred, and they ought to be sacred, but we've lost that, unfortunately, in a lot of places, to honour our trees and their sacredness.
Yeah, I was watching this documentary about science the other day, and then it's even our body, you know, our brain and heart and our organs, it's all connected, and then sending message one each other. So I think we are more connected than we think, you know, like academic, they just chop, you know, like this putting us in a box or a silo.
Boxes. Or the brain is one thing, the heart is another one.
Exactly. And then for that my father's friend is like taking like 60 medicine, and it's really causing a lot of a problem because, you know, not why don't we see it as a whole system. As such, we are so connected. While listening to you, Heather, I was just I don't know why Japanese are so fanatic about sakura, but it's so beautiful, you know. It's amazingly beautiful. And then I was telling my friend the other day that the sakura, if you cut the sakura branch in the winter time, inside is like a pink, that sakura pink. So then I told her that like sakura is preparing a whole year to have that beautiful color, just to last like 1 week, 2 weeks. One rain, it's gonna be finished. But then that, I don't know, some people say this is samurai and then zen, and then that momentum to just flourish and blossom, you know, the whole tree is preparing. So I told her that it's time for you to blossom. This is your time. And come to Japan next year. And she was in tears, you know. So it's just, we are so connected, and such message and just resonated her. But yeah, so that's the domain, as I said at the beginning. The tree, the nature, we are connected. And yeah, Monica, thanks connecting us all this 5 continents. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had
It's
all
true.
this wisdom, and it's just yeah, amazing. Not It's so much more like this buzzing and then all this energy going around. We are so much more connected than we think.
It is
Well,
true.
we are very connected. You're quite right. The fact that you'd run into each other in India is enough for
I
me.
know.
I
Yes.
just, I thought you made very little fuss of that. I was just astounded. I mean, it happens, but rarely that you'd find each other in India of all places. I mean, how many people live in India?
Yeah, what are the chances? Like we were gonna be in India at the same time. So yeah, really.
Yeah,
Mm.
Yeah, life is pretty interesting and it's all
It
about
is
connection. It's true. Yes.
yeah, and
Yes.
yeah.
I think at some level we all, well, traditionally we know that at some level we all come from the same source.
Yes.
Mm.
One spark of light a long time ago, wherever that came from, whatever theory you have, there's been some original light that was life that we
Hmm.
named as life, and I think that
Mm.
memory that can't actually ever disappear. So our grandmothers walk with us. In fact, I have a really lovely ceremony woman, Indigenous woman from these lands, and last week I was interviewing her. I was hosting an expo online, and she was telling me that in her tradition, her name is Buru, that's what she calls herself, and she was telling us, as she introduced herself, she welcomed us to her country. We're on her country, on her land, and saying we're talking about the ancestors and country and how to honor ancestors and country. And she was saying how she realized more than ever recently that, and I was agreeing that we don't always, we think we come in here to live our own lives, but sometimes or often, in her case, always, we're here to finish the unfinished business of our ancestors, of our grandmothers and
Mm.
grandmothers. And we often these days discard the memories and the connections, but they live within us. We think we discard them in our mind, but they're actually coded within us. So business, or maybe the archetypal energies that they walked, as in symbolic energies, we take on. And I think for me, I've taken on some and left others alone, because there can be criminal history in our Australian heritage very easily, because we were originally colonised as convicts to come here from England. So you can pretty well, almost anyone here in Australia can trace their heritage back to crime of some sort and punishment, but not everybody. Yeah, but just having that memory encoded in you of the goodness is what I'm interested in. And I work with my clients for when they can't find the memory in this life, to go back to their ancestors' memory of something that they're seeking now in their life that can help them, like maybe courage or compassion.
Oh, how beautiful.
Or patience, or kindness, whatever they're trying to develop, because it's only a matter of talking to the grandmothers and the grandfathers and saying, can we activate this now? Can we reactivate this now? The abundance that your great grandfather might have had in his pilgrimage of settlement or whatever. Can you help to reactivate the goodness? Because so many people focus on the wrongdoings and the difficulties and the hardness of life, but we can reactivate the ease and the grace and the power and power in a good way, personal self-worth and self-care. So anyway, there I am rambling again. Yeah, so
Nothing is rambling. Yeah, we're here sharing whatever comes.
now and then I've had a cold and I realised, I just remembered I have a cold. Take a breath.
I think it's been. I love how we always when we get together and it's been a while. There is always this weaving that goes in such a beautiful way. We just start as a informal conversation and it goes this way. It feels so good. It's just like it flows, and you see how we have been weaving through the theme in such a beautiful way, just through the stories and sharing whatever comes to our mind. And this is not like a presentation and preparation, and this is the magic of these spaces when we get together, because it's everything that you say or each of us say can connect to the other, and will bring another memory and another story, and and the weaving is there. So that's why it's like nothing is rambling. Everything will bring something beautiful, and I love how in this group it always happens, the magic.
Yeah, like a jazz session, right? So I have a question. I have a question to Heather. Talking about the topic, the rituals. What do you say ritual? You said a story is a ritual. But then like in India, when we meditate, we go like this. And then when we did this ceremony, I had to go like this rabbit. Remember, Monica, with this what do you call this offering, and then So, what do you say about this ritual? One of my yoga teachers said it's really what you believe, why this or that, because somebody asked what does it make difference if you do this or that or this, so why is this Heather, the ritual, and then one way of doing this, and then tradition, and what's the I'm sure there is a use of it.
Yes. Look, the yogis could tell you better than me. I don't know enough about yoga and those poses, but the poses are part of the mantra. So they help you concentrate. They help you to be still. And there's a lot of other things they be doing between your brain and your body and your mind, like your body and your heart. So I think mostly, I wouldn't even try and answer the question. Okay, but for me, when I say I have students, you can make these things like a ritual can become your ritual. And yesterday I was talking to one of my students who was worried whether she'd done this particular technique of creating a mandala with her client the right way, a bit like about holding your hands in the right way, creating the mandala in the right fashion. And she was really quite distressed about, I think I might have forgotten to do this or forgotten to do that. And I just put my hand on her back and I said, can you tell me, how did your client feel when you completed the map? And she said, amazing. She loved it. So good. I said, so the process is not what was important for you, it's what's important for her. I said, whatever you taught her, she will remember, and that will be her map, just as what I've taught my student is her map. There are many maps, and there are many poses, and there are many ways to come into stillness and many ways to connect. My guides taught me this, my inner guides taught me this in the very early days. Don't worry, our map is between us, and whatever we teach you will work. So if I decide that air is the element in the south, that's how it will work. But if Monica in her culture, because you live in the northern, or actually you're probably quite close to the southern hemisphere where you come from, but somebody, Keiko, maybe the south might have the element of earth for you. And that's your map, because it's according to where you live. And I think these poses are the same ways of connecting people to an intelligence, to a ritual, to something they repeat every day, that switches something on in their mind, their brain, and relaxes them. And so I don't know how to answer your question correctly, but
No, you answered it.
No,
Yes,
yes,
you
yes.
did answer.
So
Yes.
beautifully, and I love it. And I just want to add what I just recently also learned being in India, that I completely agree with you, is it whatever you feel and what you have access and what you feel connected. And in India, what they call it is a mudra. So it's like those whatever positions are our body is almost like doing some sacred geometry. It's not
Yeah.
only the way you paint it, but also our body can become that. So in ancient times, they will realize that in certain positions or ways that we put our hands or our own bodies,
Yeah.
we will connect better to the divine, to the spirit, or
Mm,
whatever we believe. But of course, yeah, it's that culture that in some time realize, okay, this makes us feel more connected. But I do believe that is it depends on each of us. I love it how Heather just brought it,
mm,
because it's whatever you have access to in that moment, or your culture, or the
Yes.
space
Well,
there.
handed down
Yeah,
is important, and it becomes a channel of energy of its own.
right.
Yeah, and so that will be handed down for maybe 1,000 years. Of course, it's going to build a portal of energy and a channel and be amazing, but we can create our own portals and our own channels. And I think that's the point I was trying to make. I couldn't step into anybody else's channel and portal and tell you what it means, but I can tell you all about mine.
mm,
Because I has discovered this world on my own. I didn't have a mentor or a teacher in the for a long while in the physical world. So I had to go inward for my answers,
Mm.
and it was my inner guides who taught me the way, which is one way of the shamanic path, where you have an
mhm.
inner experience, an inner world experience. So that, I guess the answers are within. We just have to learn how to get to those places.
I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah.
I
Mm,
love it. And even in India, a lot of gurus or from these ashrams, they even say that it's not what we're saying, we're just a channel, but the answers are in you. Like you take or you
mm,
filter whatever. At least that was what I learned, which I love it, because I don't like to be imposed. Oh, this way, this way. You have to do it this way. It's just you learn
mm.
from everybody, and then you filter and you do what you feel like makes sense to you.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I really definitely think this is grandmother's wisdom,
right.
And then when I'm like listening to Heather, it's like a grandmother's
It
recipe,
is.
This
Yeah,
is
it
what
is.
I do it,
I
And then
love it.
it's not really the theory, but then outcome. Grandmother's dishes are really always so good,
I love it.
So that's what I was. Thank
That's why it's
you.
so beautiful, this space, and thank you. And I guess I want to be already closing, because we have another session coming
Mhm.
with another woman here from the US. Her name is Carmen Joy. She will tell her story as a grandmother. So that will be
Mm.
another interesting story. And closing our weaving, because this was a beautiful weaving between us, and not only the weaving, but the reconnection of friends, because I consider you as being already like we have been, reconnecting and going into a journey some way together, always knowing about each other or meeting in person. And bringing initially how you brought, Heather, about the story about how you explain death to your little grandchildren, grandkid,
Yeah.
and how that could be a way of grieving, and a way of doing something beautiful with death, like crying, laughing,
Mm.
and the painting that is a ritual, and how
Mm.
every little detail you can become something like that. And Keiko, you brought the beautiful story of your grandmother that you wrote in the book of the kimono, how she walked so many kilometers, and how you were so connected to her. She was almost like a mother to you.
Mhm.
And you brought the story of not story, but you brought the sakura and the energy of the
Mm.
trees, and you both brought that, and how that brought us that remembering of how everything is connected. And Heather put it so beautiful, how the trees pass their wisdom between
Mm.
each other. So I just want to honor both of you because it's such a beautiful, examples and ways of bringing this. You were bringing the stories and the rituals, and how you said also, Heather, the storytelling is a ritual of its own. And then at the end, with Keiko's question about rituals, you see, they were so beautiful and so wise that you explained it, Heather, as a grandmother. As a wise woman. So I want to really thank you, both of you, because I guess we went through the whole cycle and everything with love, because that was the way, and connecting us again and remembering how beautiful these connections are, how beautiful all this weaving could be. So thank you so much.
Thank you for holding this space. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Keiko, I have to say, I don't have your book. Can you please tell me, where do I get your book?
Oh, you have to read it.
Sure.
Is it online?
Yeah, it is Amazon. And then What Grandma Taught Me.
What Grandma Taught Me. And the other one about the lullaby, is that another one? Or is
this is only English one, but there's a Japanese one, which is this one. It's in Japanese. Same as this painting, but it's in Japanese.
I can't read that one, but I thought it was lullaby. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
But in Amazon, you will find it, right? Yes.
Yeah.
For everybody.
Then, audiobook this year.
Yes.
And then maybe we can, you never know, we can write this Grandma Leaders book together.
Yes, we can do
with
that.
With Heather's leadership.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was thinking exactly the same thing. And you know what? You're not very far away by airplane. I can go straight up to Japan.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I'm the most far away, but
Bali, we can meet up. Bali
yes, that could be the meeting point, and we can all contribute to this beautiful book. Yeah, your idea and project.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
Nusa Penida. There's a new project going on.
I love it. I love it. So if you all go to, whoever is connected, go to our website, rositapepa.com. You will find Heather's and Keiko's information, your websites, everything there. So you can follow the work that you're doing. But there you go. Stay tuned in that and learn more about these two amazing women. There is your bios in there and everything amazing that you're doing. So thank you for being part of this community, of this project. And I would love to see you soon. Who knows, in Bali is the next time.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. An amazing day for you both. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.